You are releasing some new data today that shows some new trends in terms of how the scooter market is evolving in the middle of the pandemic. Tell us what you're seeing.
Yeah, Emily, thank you so much for having me back. Well, since last time we spoke, we've relaunched in 80 markets around the world, 20 countries, 4 continents. And what's incredible is we're seeing a surge of ridership all around the world. In fact, many of our markets are hitting new record ridership figures. And not only that, we're seeing different behaviors. Our trips are longer. They're actually 30% longer. People are taking scooters and bikes end to end. We're also seeing different places where they're going to be more common. For example, historically, we see a lot more trips in downtown financial districts. Now we're seeing more trips in neighborhoods where people live. And all these things, I think, are really great underlying data that shows that there's a big shift from other modes of transportation to micromobility in the post-lockdown period.
That said, we're seeing cases resurge across the country. Schools are saying they're not going to reopen in the fall, which means people are going to keep working from home for the foreseeable future. Does that really increase the demand for scooters?
No, we're seeing different use cases, exactly as you're pointing out. There are some use cases that hasn't come back. So tourism hasn't come back, commute is not fully back. But what we're seeing is that people are leaving their homes and they're going to get errands, they're going to groceries. A lot more of our trips are people visiting local businesses. And if right now you're worried about safety, we are an open air, single passenger mode of transportation. And not only that, it's sustainable and it's affordable. And it's actually allowed more people to use different use cases that they perhaps didn't think about before. And so, yes, we're seeing the trend come back, not exactly the same use case, but we think that this will continue even if there's a second wave of COVID.
Speaking of small businesses, there's been a lot of talk about how even more small businesses are going to shut down. I mean, some of them were hanging on, but now that we're seeing this second wave, they might not be able to stay in business. How does that change the game for you?
Yeah, one of the things that we're really investing time is partnering with local businesses. We're going out there and reaching out to local partners so that we're reminding our riders that they can use Lime to go visit local businesses. We certainly think the health of any transportation ecosystem in cities relies on healthy small businesses. We did a survey of our consumers, and 2/3 actually say day to day are using Lime to visit local businesses. I'm hopeful that even if there's a resurgence, we're going to be able to weather this along with our small business partners.
Right, and I know you're partnering with various chambers of commerce. New York City just legalized e-scooters, the UK as well. What does that mean for the overall business?
I think it's a huge opportunity. I think you mentioned the UK and New York City. These are places that we're talking about maybe 2021, 2022 before. But what COVID has done is made these cities rethink how do they ensure there's affordable and safe transportation options. One of the interesting things that we've seen is that we're hitting record ridership in places hardest hit by COVID. So Korea, Italy, we're hitting all-time record ridership. And we think the reason is because places that have really felt the negative effects of COVID-19, they're thinking even harder about how do I move around while observing social distancing. When we look at places like New York City, clearly one of the epicenters of COVID-19, micromobility is a necessary, in fact, it is such a critical part of how the city can reopen safely. And we're excited to partner with the city as they launch their new pilot.
Now, earlier in the crisis, I know, things were tough for you. You had layoffs, you had to shut down in various cities. Then more recently, you acquired Uber's Jump. You got an investment from them, $170 million. How does that change the game for you? Does this mean no more layoffs for sure, even if things continue to go in the direction that they're going, which is not good?
Emily, we don't expect any layoffs forthcoming. In fact, what we're seeing is ridership surging. And we're seeing ridership surging all around the world. Clearly, there's still a lot of uncertainty coming up. We were on a path to profitability in 2020. Of course, COVID pushed that back several months. I still expect with the new revenue coming back and dramatic improvements to our internal cost control, we're expecting to be profitable by 2021. And I actually have no expectation that we're going to have layoffs. If anything, we're going to be doubling down, scaling, and investing more into our business over the next year.